Hi guys, welcome to Moto Maniacs. And what we have here today is the Continental GT, a cafe racer. And guys, recently there has been a lot of interest over this bike. The sales figure of this bike is reflecting um, a big interest in this bike. When the bike was launched back in 2018, uh, didn't had that much interest. It was a niche bike, didn't sell in large numbers. But now this is one of the best selling bikes in the 650 platform. The Interceptor is not selling as much as the Continental GT. So guys, with the recent interest in this bike, we decided to have a look into the Continental GT and the cafe racing culture, and specifically the Continental GTR, the bike that races in Royal Enfield's GT Cup series, which is their race thing that they do right now only in India, and I believe it is a very important thing for Royal Enfield. Racing for any brand creates the most amount of interest when you talk about brand marketing or brand loyalty. And Royal Enfield has also entered this space now. But the story behind the GT Cup is a very, very interesting story because if you study Royal Enfield and you go back into their history, they are a very, very conservative brand. A brand like Royal Enfield going racing is really something you cannot imagine that this has happened. So why? And the bike, we really had a very good encounter with that bike at Royal Motors Patiala, and you're gonna be seeing the bike now, and the story behind it is amazing. So guys, the GT 650, I must say the GTR 650, which has been raised in their Cup series, uh, came from an unlikely meeting. Mr. Asti Bartena, who is the editor-in-chief of Bike India magazine and the only Indian who has ever raced and finished a Isle of Man TT race. Then Mr. Siddharth Lal, who needs no introduction, and then Mr. Freddie Spencer, Fast Freddy, they call him, a legend in the racing circles, a legendary motorcycle racer. These three people got together for the 14th anniversary of Bike India, and the reason why they got together, they were having a lap of Isle of Man TT on the regular GT 650 Continental GT. So when they got together, they did the lap of the Isle of Man TT. They stopped for a cup of coffee, and that is where the idea of the GTR was first germinated. And the idea was brought up with Mr. Aski Batena to Siddharth Lal, that why don't you start a vintage classic sort of racing cup series based on a Continental GT. So Siddharth, first of all, was not that confident about it. But when Mr. Freddie Spencer, he also encouraged Siddharth Lal that you should really do it. The bike has potential. It won't take much to turn this bike into a bona fide cafe racer or a circuit racer. So after some time, Mr. Siddharth Lal saw the potential in that idea and came up with the GT Cup series. The whole thing, more or less, was curated by Mr. Aspi Bhartena, who is an ex-racer, who is legendary in the Indian racing circuit, and he came up with this. So the design and the overall concept of this bike was the sole purpose of Mr. Aspi Bhartena. He didn't want to invest much and didn't want to change the bike much, but this is what he's come up with not a lot of changes. He has turned a regular Continental GT into the GT Cup. So guys, let's go through some of the changes that he's done. So first of all, the most evident thing that you can have a look at is of course the race fairing here, making it more aerodynamics. If you're in a race environment, you want to tuck in and really go fast, you want this sort of racing fairing. Apart from being functional, it is drop dead gorgeous. The bike looks so good with this fairing. It's unbelievable. Then the second thing he did was change the ergonomics of the rider. So we have clip-on handlebars here, which are much lower, and then we've got rear set foot pegs, which are not only further back but also higher up than the regular Continental GT. Then the other thing that he did, he didn't touch the engine at all. The only thing he did is these exhausts, so these are tuned length, which are specifically made by Mr. Asti Bartena. These are as a tuned length exhaust, and it has gone through a slight remap that gives around 15% more horsepower compared to the Continental GT. So we can safely say around 8 or 10 bhp more than the regular Continental GT. The other thing that he did is, with the exhaust, the bike is so much lighter. So he has at least saved around 20 kilos. So I mean, the 650 GT, the regular one, is a heavy bike to start with, but he has taken out around, let's say, at least 20 to 25 kilos from this bike. And but the most important changes for a racetrack has to be in the suspension. The rear suspension is changed slightly; it is a bit stiffer, but the major change has gone into the front suspension. So this is a cartridge kit that he has given it, and of course a lot stiffer. The rebound and the compression is also changed. Then the tires, again with the suspension, has to work with the suspension. So we've got almost slick tires here. At the back as well, we've got Metzeller's on it, which you rarely see. I don't know, I've ever seen Metzeller tires on on a Royal Enfield. So guys, I mean, they haven't done much. It's not that it's they have invested a lot of time or money into it. It's not. This is the sort of thing that anybody can do, but this is the potential that Mr. Aspi Batena saw in the regular bike, that with these little changes you can take this bike to a different level. That is what he's done. And look at the GT series that has been going on. It is a success. I was not me myself was as a skeptical guy. I mean, I wasn't sure that the GT Cup is going to work, because Royal Enfield is not known for their racing heritage. The modern Royal Enfield is not known for their racing heritage. So, but the response for the GT Cup is such an amazing response. There's so many people who are signing up for this, so many aspiring racers who are aspiring for, to be racing in the GT Cup, and it's a great thing to see. And let me tell you guys, every successful manufacturer can gain a lot by entering into one make race series or a race series, because the racing, I must say, is the most exciting part of the automobile world. And once you can create excitement through racing, people will come into the showroom. Even if they're not buying the Continental GT, they are looking at the GT Cup, they are following the GT Cup, so they are following the brand. So that is the sort of pull that you can get from a good racing series which is executed well. So all props to Royal Enfield, guys. And another just a thought: if this can be turned into maybe a road going racer, a guy like me would be very, very happy. And maybe maybe would I would even consider selling my regular Continental GT for a road going racer which is based on this bike. My god, still a dream. Let's see if Mr. Siddharth Lal is going to be interested in that. And guys, before we leave, I'm going to leave you with the sound of this bike. It's really something special. Let's see if this starts. These are open pipes. I don't know if you can hear me very well. These are really open pipes, and they sound the business. Guys, it's been a good day and I'm happy. So guys, subscribe and like the video, and do share your comments about the Continental GT and the Continental GT. I would love to hear about it. Thanks for watching, guys.